Well, as you can see behind me, I've got my frame all up. I'll do a little bit about that after the intro. But also in this video, I'm going to do a comparison about the good and bad things I was sent last year by companies wanting me to do promotions. It's worth sticking around for. Right, so the frame is up and welded, and this is one that later on in this video we'll mention about the Welder, which I used to weld this up outside, because obviously it's so damn big I couldn't construct this. You can see it's 20 foot long by 10 foot. I couldn't construct it and lift it out here, so we did it piece by piece. Now, one of the things you might say, Mike, look, you've got a load of old British scaffolding posts there. Indeed I do, and they're not the actual permanent ones. They're the ones just temporarily there, just to hold it up while I position the legs. Because I'm going to use scaffolding poles as stilts. And the reason why is they're about 6mm thick, galvanised and straight. Now, why am I confident in using that? Won't they stick into the dirt? No, because under here is solid rock, and hopefully today Mr. Amazon can get his act together. I'm getting a boring bar thing, hole cutter, to cut some holes into the rock, and I'm going to use those legs, about probably 12 or 14 of those legs, into the rock so it doesn't move. Okay, so that's going to be kind of interesting. By digging down onto the rock, encapsulating the steel posts in the rock, I don't think it's going anywhere. And also there's an existing concrete footing there, so I'm going to drill into that so it ties them together and we should be okay. Now, so seeing it's Friday, I thought we'd do something a little bit different. Let's go back and have a look at some products that were sent to me last year, a couple of products, good ones, bad ones, and see how they fared up. Now, one of the things we're going to start with is the loser. What's the loser? Well, it's this Plesee dashcam. Now, it worked really good, don't get me wrong, but it wasn't right for me. Why? Well, there were 7 things I did like. Let's do those first. The screen, as you can see, is kind of big, and it actually is a screen. It's not a mirror, it's a screen. And the rear screen view that you get when you push the button to look at the rear, or when you're in reverse, is really wide angle. I mean, I think it must be about 150 degree width of angle, so you can see everything. And when you put the car into reverse, the camera actually dips down so you can see even further, which is a great thing. The quality of video recording was superb, you couldn't fault it. And it records sound too, which I didn't know, so be careful when you got the radio on or anything like that. Well, not careful, or you're having an intimate chitter-chatter with somebody, you don't want that recording. Now, I was sceptical of this mirror at the beginning because it says in the instructions that it's only good for -10. Well, let me tell you, -32 and it worked like a champ. It was going great, no problems at all. The problems occurred when it got hot. Let me pop out and get my mirror from my Yaris and I'll show you what the problem was. Right, so here we are, that's my mirror off the Yaris. So what's it doing in your hand, Mike? Well, this is the downfall of this thing, because once that's attached to that, it comes heavy. And in summer, it was most annoying that the little ball and socket in here, it became loose and it kept going down like this, you know, and really fast too. So you push it with your finger, then it goes back down again, which was really, really annoying. Then it got ultra annoying when it got to about 34, 35 degrees, and then it became unbonded from the screen. I haven't been able to properly put it back on again. I've tried gluing it and it still doesn't work. So I don't know, I was a bit disappointed in that. Now the thing is, could you put it in a different car? what about your Land Rover? Well, I could, and I thought that the Land Rover one would be better because it's on attached with 3 screws at the top, but it's still on a ball. Now, an ideal situation was I could get a hose clip in there and nip it up a bit, because once you've adjusted your mirror, that's it. Unfortunately, there's not enough room, and I did think about putting it like on top of the dash like that, like upside down, but then the field of view would be pointing straight out, which might not be effective. And also in the Yaris, the instrument binnacle is right in the middle, so it meant drilling great big holes through the instruments. I don't know. I liked it. I didn't like it. Oh, one thing I didn't like as well. Right, when you can see that there. Now imagine on a sunny day, bright sunny day. I know you don't know what that is in England, so I'll explain it. It's a big yellow thing in the sky. But anyway, when it's a sunny day, with all the light coming in the car, you can see everything reflected in this glass, whereas you wouldn't do really in a mirror. It's funny, it's a funny experience, but all you could see was plastic bags and junk. You couldn't actually see the image on the screen, so I didn't like that at all. But as a dash cam, it worked perfectly. Now as a rear view, I put the camera inside the hatchback glass so that the wiper covered and cleaned off the lens, which was pretty good, except when you slam the bonnet, you know, slam the tailgate, it tends to shift every now and again, so that wasn't really all that good. I tried tightening it up, but I don't know, I wasn't really impressed. I think they're supposed to be fixed, so that's about it really. Now, as I've still got the box and all the instructions and things like this, I've lost a little rubber strap, but it might be in my car. But if anybody would like this and wants to pay for the shipping, they're kind of expensive to buy. If you want to pay for the shipping, I'll send it out to you. You can have it for free. Generous, eh? Whatever next. Right, I'll tell you whatever's next. A welder, and I was impressed. Let me go and get set up. So what's the winner? It has to be this thing here. The Yes Welder. The MIG 205DS, or is it D5? DS. Now this was sent to me last year to give it a trial, and I did a quick review, but I only actually used it on 110. When I was welding outside, doing the structure, I was using 220, and it just kept welding all day. And it wasn't welding just like Land Rover chassis. It was welding this to this. Now usually I would use a stick welder, but I'll do a little clip now and I'll show you the sort of quality of welds, and it was having its breakfast. It was going really well. So this is just a typical example of the type of weld it was doing. Really nice and deep. It's not a great big stuck up weld. You know, it's gone deep into those corners. Very pleased. Now this welder is a 110 and 220, and it just came at the right time for me because my old Lincoln welder broke, and this just turned up a few weeks later. I also have a Clark welder, and you'll probably maybe able to see it. Where is he now? Yeah, there he is. I brought that from England, a Clark 230. I brought it many years ago. That works well, except the wire feed thing had gone up, so I put just a temporary switch in. It's been temporarily permanent. But now, after using that on 220, this thing here on 220, I'm most impressed what it'll do. It will do what that does, and my Lincoln. This saves space in my shop. Well, the Clark is going pretty well, but like I say, getting parts for it now it's not easy. Now, what I don't like about this, apart from the colour, is this display. You see, although it's got a great feature of having a plastic cover, there's an overhang here. Now, when you've got this on the floor or even on the table, you can't see what's happening. So what I'm going to do is, just for a demonstration, I'm going to plug it into 110 and you'll be able to see what's happening. Oh, and another thing I don't like, the switch is on the back. Why couldn't I put it on the side at the front? Now it is a bit noisy because it's got a fan on it. I can't see the screen from here, but let's have a look round. So this tells you your amperage, and this does something else. Or does that wire feed? I can't tell. But the problem is, when you're outside, it's got these green LEDs that are like blinding, like headlights, and you can't see these settings here. You can't see what they're for. Now I've got this set up at 0.6, but it actually should be 0.8. There. So that's set up at 0.8. Now what is the clever thing about this is when you turn the knob to turn up the amps or whatever it is, it'll flash for a bit and reset itself. You don't have to adjust the wire speed, it adjusts it automatically. Isn't that good? Brilliant. So on this particular model, it's got a switch here and here for how long you can hold your trigger on. Like if it's on or off, that's what they call that 2T, and 4T is when you pull it and lock it, and then pull it and it'll unlock. And because this machine has got what's called it can do TIG welding, but the torch is live. So once you've made your arc, you can actually keep it on all the time, which is kind of a good feature. Another good feature, I think I might just turn it off a minute. Bit noisy, isn't it? So the other good feature is, this will do stick welding, TIG welding, and MIG welding. Wait a minute. It'll do stick welding, TIG welding, MIG welding, and it'll also use flux core wire as well. It's a really good all-round welder. So impressed. Another little thing I kind of like is this little button here. If you've ever been putting new wire into your machine, there's a little button here that feeds it through without switching the machine on, if you see what I mean. Like, it's not powering up, you don't have to hold the trigger, so you can just feed wire through it. It's a great thing, but it's very simple. Now the thing is, if you're doing car repairs and stuff, it's a great all-rounder, honestly. Now they have changed it. They have changed this model, and they've actually got it in black now and little red things. It's the same welder, but they've sort of found the errors of their way by painting it this, well, I don't know, what the hell colour would you call it? There must have been something left over, they mixed it all up and thought that'll do. Or it's done by somebody who's colourblind. Anyway, the newer one has got some different features. It hasn't got the T2, T1, so has it got the TIG in it? I'm not sure. I downloaded not the workshop manual, I downloaded the manual for this and had a read through it. It does pretty much the same thing. But it's got good duty cycle, which means, like with the Clark over there, with good old-fashioned copper windings, its duty cycle is sort of rated at, what, 230 amp, but after a couple of hours, or an hour or so, you'll find it sort of drops down to maybe, I don't know, maybe 160 amp. That means that it'll do all day perhaps at 160, 140 amps, but its peak is 230. So when you buy a welder, they always advertise the peak, because not a lot of us weld day in, day out. It is not a professional machine. It is just really for sort of amateurs. But I could use this all day after welding those tubes, like this stuff. This is 3/16 of an inch, and this is 1/4 of an inch. What's that? 6.4, and this is 3 point something. I don't know, but how can we say? I used 75% argon, 25% CO2 as a mix in a big bottle that's fastened to the wall. So I made an extension lead like this. This is 60 foot long to go all the way through the back door, all the way to the building, right to the furthest corner. And I'll tell you something, I didn't adjust the pressure on the bottle at all, and this coped really well. And this is only 1/4 of an inch, because I could only get 6 millimetre. whereas I really wanted 8mm to work. See, this is the normal size pipe I use. I couldn't get any. I could get like PVC, but that's no good. This is nylon and this is nylon, so I simply just got an adapter. So the guys at the truck place, because this is really truck control line, they sold me 80 feet for $35. I thought, oh, that was cheap. And this stuff, if I don't ever use it again, the stuff that's left, I can make breather pipes for LT230s and gearboxes and axles and then join them all together, so that's even better. So yeah, I think this is winner of the week, this welder. I was, like I say, it's light as well, because it weighs only 16 kilos, fully dressed. And this is where you put your wire, and it's got we've got to mix measurements up again, but there you go. It's got a 10 kilo spool in it, so, oh, not 10 kilo, 10 pound spool in it. You can get smaller ones, and like I say, it will weld up, it will weld aluminium, all sorts of bits and pieces. It's a good all-round machine. And another thing I forgot to tell you, you can put a spool on gun, because if you're going to use this for welding aluminium, which is quite capable of doing, sometimes, because of the length of your line and your gun, the aluminium's very soft and it can pucker up inside the line. So a spool on gun replaces this with a small spool of aluminium near the trigger, so the wire's only got this far to go, and that's the way to go for welding sort of aluminium. It's a good all-round machine. And I tell you something, instead of being a cheesy torch, this is very, very robust. I like it. It's got a, you know, good strain relief on there, got a ball swivel in there. All the parts are interchangeable with regular welders, really. I can't fault it. I just can't see anything wrong with it. Oh, it's got a swivel ball on this end as well, look, so that's really good. Euro plug, so you can put any length of cabling on you want. And like I say, it doubles up also as a stick welder. Now, I don't get any paid promotion for this, but I thought for you guys who tinker around with your cars, and sometimes you weld heavy stuff, like you want to weld new brackets on your rear axle, this would be ideal. You know, chassis welding would be a dream with this, because once you set it up by your knob, you don't have to worry about wire speed and things like this. You just set the amps up, so you want it so it's really melting your metal but not making a pile. How do we explain? I'll think of something. Oh, I'll get my drawing board out, just a second. Oh, when you've got a piece of metal that you want to join, so say for example this is your 2 bits. I don't know if this is going to come out or not. Maybe I'll zoom in a bit. There we go. So let's say we want to weld those 2 pieces of metal, and they're quite hefty, kind of thick. Some welds, if they're we might call it a cold weld, we'll make a build up like this and bridge that gap here. When it's not very strong, what you want is a weld that's like this, that goes all the way through. You get my drift? You don't want something pronounced and stick it up. You want something like that. Now if you were doing a 90 degree like I did outside, God, bloody sharpies. How did we do it? Oh, that's right, we were welding like that. So there was a tube there. There we go. So that's the tube here. So we got that. We don't want a big bead of weld here, really. We want it to go that way. So it's like that, if you see what I mean. Or should I say, let's draw it on this one. So it goes like that and it eats all the way into there. And that's a good weld, that's going to stay right. So you'll only find it out, oops, oh, bloody thing, I wish I had longer arms. You'll only find out by practicing, but practice makes perfect. And another thing with these welders, because it's an inverter welder, it puts out sort of like a high frequency. So when you're transferring from one welder to another, like an old coil welder to these, You used to, with your old coil welder, listen to the sound. It was supposed to be like frying bacon in a pan, like a crackling type of noise. It is with this one, but you've got the high frequency as well to listen to. So it's not the same. But if you've got a good welding mask and you know it's one of these instant changing ones, you can see exactly what you're doing and practice on an old piece of steel first and just keep up in the amperage until you get a good penetrating weld without burning through. See what I'm getting at? So anyway, yeah, it's a good for mechanics. It's a good one. It's light, as I said that before. It's light and it's versatile. What more do you want? I mean, it's great. I mean, like when I got it last year, I just played around with it, as I said, in 110. Didn't really put it through its paces with 220, but it really did a good job. I'm impressed. Right, hope you have a great weekend. Get welding, get busy with your cars and stuff like that, because winter's on its way. See you later.